It started on a Wednesday, and not one of those dramatic, lightning splitting the sky Wednesdays either. No, this one was deceptively calm, the kind that pretends it's just part of another week before casually tossing your life into a blender. I had just come back from a late client meeting, still in my work suit, tie loosened and wrinkled like I'd been in a fight with a Xerox machine. The house was quiet, peaceful, the kind of silence that makes you think everything is fine, right before the universe taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey buddy, you're not gonna believe this." There was a note on the counter, folded once, not twice. My wife always folded notes twice. The first sign something was off. It read, "Dinner's in the oven. Had to run out. Don't wait up today." Simple, sweet, suspicious. Now, I'm not the type to jump at shadows. I'm a spreadsheet guy. I manage commercial property portfolios. I analyze trends and risk ratios. I don't do gut feelings. But something about that note felt like the closing credits of a show I didn't realize had ended. I reheated the lasagna anyway. Around 9:30, I poured a glass of bourbon and sat on the patio. Our backyard was small, boxed in by a tired wooden fence and one determined rose bush that refused to die. The sky was clear, but something inside me felt clouded. I didn't know it yet, but this was the last truly peaceful evening I'd have for months. That night, I saw him for the first time. Tall, sharp, a man in a gray suit, walking briskly down our sidewalk. Confident, like he owned the pavement. I wouldn't have given him a second glance, except he stopped, right across from our house. Just stood there for a moment, then looked up, right at me. We locked eyes, two grown men on opposite ends of a life neither of us knew was about to erupt. He didn't smile. He didn't wave. He just tilted his head slightly, like he was inspecting something on display. Then he walked off. No rush. I didn't think much of it at the time. Just a weird moment in a week full of minor glitches. But looking back, I realize now. That man in the gray suit wasn't lost. He was scouting the battlefield. The next morning, Ashley was already up before me. That was rare. She was in the kitchen, humming. Scrambled eggs, toast, that peach smoothie she only made when she was in a good mood or guilty. She kissed my cheek like a woman trying to preserve a habit, not love. I played along. "Early bird today," I said, sipping coffee. "Big meeting," she replied, without looking up. "You know how Grant is. Loves those 8 a.m. status briefings like he's curing cancer or something." I smiled, nodded. But something itched in the back of my brain. Her phone was face down on the counter. Ashley never left it face down. No, I'm not a jealous man. But I am a man with eyes. And what I started noticing that week wasn't paranoia, it was data. Exhibit A. Wednesday nights, she was always out with the girls. But here's the thing, the girls never called. Never texted. Never showed up in photos. Exhibit B. She started locking her phone. New passcode. Changed her Apple ID. Claimed it was because Lacey's kid kept posting weird emojis on her stories. Right. Exhibit C. The perfume. Expensive. Not her usual scent. A little too strong. A little too late in the evening. The kind you put on before someone important shows up. Still, I said nothing. I was playing the long game. Collecting inconsistencies like pennies in a jar. That Saturday, we went to her boss's house for some rooftop networking party. I knew half the people there by name, the other half by fake smiles. And then he showed up again. The man in the gray suit. This time, he wasn't just a shadow on the sidewalk. He was real, shaking hands, sipping scotch. Someone called him Chase. Apparently, he worked in Ashley's department, new project lead from corporate. Ashley said, "Oh, you two haven't met yet." Like she was introducing her husband to a coworker, not an understudy. "Logan," I said, offering my hand. He grinned like he'd just been dealt pocket aces. "Chase, Ashley's told me all about you. Hope she left out the boring parts." She did. It was subtle, but I clocked it. That knowing smirk. That casual proximity to my wife. That cologne I smelled on our couch cushions 2 nights ago, the kind you can't unsmell once you recognize it. I didn't say a word on the drive home. Ashley asked if I had a good time. I said, absolutely. And I meant it, because nothing lights a fire under a man like confirmation. And I was almost there. Next week, Wednesday night, I'd follow her. And the truth would stop hiding. Wednesday came. Rainy. Cold. Like the city itself knew something dirty was about to be revealed and decided to dress accordingly. Ashley left at 6:04 p.m. Red dress. Heels she hadn't worn in years. Hair curled. Lipstick darker than usual, something sultry that didn't scream book club. She kissed my cheek, said, "Don't wait up," with a wink she used to save for date nights. I smiled. "Have fun." Then I waited. 30 minutes later, I was in my car. I didn't tail her like some movie spy. I already had the address. A little boutique hotel downtown. Quiet. Chic. The kind of place people go to disappear for a few hours and pretend their lives are simpler. She didn't lie about the wine. Or the dinner. Just omitted that the wine would be poured by Chase. Candlelight would be flickering. And laughter, the kind of laughter that used to belong to us, would echo from a table for two. I stayed in the lobby, behind a decorative column and a bad art piece of a swan exploding into stars. I watched them through the restaurant glass. She touched his hand. He touched her thigh. I didn't need more. But I got more anyway. Because as they finished dinner, they didn't leave separately. No fake, "I'll call you later" routine. They walked out together, her arm linked with his like they'd been doing it for months. And then the elevator swallowed them whole. I sat there for a while, staring at my reflection in the hotel lobby mirror. A man in a clean suit, neatly shaved, quiet, calm. But inside, something cracked. Not rage, not heartbreak. Just this cold, measured stillness. The kind that comes right before a chess player tips over their king, not because they've lost, but because they're already planning the next match. And in that match, they don't play defense. They go for the queen. The next morning, Ashley was humming again. This time, I knew the tune. It was an old song we used to dance to in the kitchen, barefoot, back when our biggest fights were about whose turn it was to take out the trash. Now she hummed it like it didn't belong to a different life. She didn't know I had followed her the night before. She didn't know I had seen the whole charade. And I didn't tell her. Not yet. Instead, I sat at the breakfast table with my coffee, scrolling through an inbox I wasn't really reading. I could feel her watching me from across the kitchen, waiting for me to ask about her girls' night. I didn't. So she started, too casually, "The girls want to plan a weekend away next month. Wine tasting. You okay with that?" "Sure," I said, without looking up. "You deserve it." She blinked. That wasn't the response she expected. She wanted friction, guilt, a reason to lie again. But I was giving her none. It wasn't forgiveness. It was rope. She'd hang herself with it eventually. That evening, I poured myself a drink. Neat bourbon. Heavy pour. And I started making a list. No, not some get-even manifesto. Something more elegant. Tidy. Just a timeline, really. Dates. Lies. Patterns. Receipts. I printed out a few bank statements. Highlighted 2 Uber rides. Took screenshots of hotel booking confirmations sent to her email under the subject line "Quarterly Review Prep." She wasn't even being clever. She was being comfortable. That's what got me. More than the betrayal, the ease with which she did it. The way she still kissed me goodbye, like she hadn't just left her lipstick on another man's collar. That wasn't just adultery. That was theater. And I was the understudy waiting in the wings while the main act played out in real time. At some point, I heard the garage door open. Ashley was home early. I tucked the papers away in my desk drawer. Not hidden. Just waiting. She came in with takeout bags. "Thai. My favorite." "Thought you had a late meeting," I said. "Canceled," she replied, breezing past me. "Figured we could have a quiet night in." I watched her unpack the containers. She even got the spicy dumplings I liked, the ones she always pretended were too greasy when we were on good terms. We ate in silence. Forks clinking. TV murmuring in the background. And then, like nothing had happened, she said, "Chase wants to come by sometime. He mentioned wanting to meet you officially. I told him you might like him." I nearly choked on my ginger chicken. "You did?" I said, dabbing my mouth with a napkin. "And why would he want to meet me?" "I don't know. You're my husband. Maybe he just wants to." "I don't know." Connect. Her eyes flickered. A test. She was gauging how much I knew. Playing poker with a busted hand. I met her gaze and held it. "Well," I said, leaning back, "I'd love to meet Chase." Man sounds unforgettable. The way her face twitched, just a little, told me everything. She thought she was still in control. 2 days later, I left a file folder on the kitchen counter. Open. Visible. Like it had been forgotten. Inside, a few printed texts from her phone I'd synced a month ago. A receipt from the same hotel I'd seen her walk into. And a single sticky note, yellow, handwritten. Just making sure we're on the same page. I didn't bring it up. Neither did she. But that night, the humming stopped. Ashley sat next to me in bed, scrolling her phone too intently, her smile too forced. Logan, she said finally, her voice low, careful, is everything okay? Of course, I said, flipping a page in my book. Why wouldn't it be? She didn't answer. Because she knew. She knew. And now the clock had started ticking. I didn't want a screaming match. I didn't want the stereotypical caught you scene. That wasn't my style. No, I wanted her to look in the mirror and realize what she'd done and who she'd underestimated. So I invited Chase to dinner, texted him myself from her phone, told him I was curious about the man who makes my wife light up. He accepted. Of course he did. Guys like Chase always think they're invincible until they're not. Dinner's tomorrow. Steaks are thawing. Wine is breathing. And I've got one more surprise waiting in the guest room. Because if you're going to play games with a man's life, you better hope he's not the type who knows how to play back. Spoiler, I do. The steak sizzled like it owed me money. Outside, the rain whispered against the windows, a polite soundtrack to the gathering storm brewing indoors. The dining table had never looked better, polished, centered, with 3 place settings and 1 man too many. Chase arrived right on time, of course. Guys like him always do. Punctuality gives the illusion of character. He showed up in a slim navy blazer and a smug grin. The man looked like the kind of cologne ad that whispers, "Trust me, I don't pay child support." Ashley opened the door with that tight smile, the one she used for clients and cops. She greeted him like they hadn't just been tangled in hotel sheets 48 hours ago. I stayed seated at the head of the table. Didn't stand. Didn't shake his hand. Just offered a glass of Malbec and a nod. He sat directly across from me, Ashley in between us, her own personal Cold War. "Logan," Chase said, lifting his glass. "Thanks for having me. Ashley told me you're a bourbon guy. Hope this wine's not a betrayal." I smiled. I'm a fan of slow poison in small doses. He chuckled, oblivious. Ashley looked like she was trying to calculate the air pressure in the room. We made small talk at first. Work. Commutes. Some TV show none of us cared about. Every sentence felt like I was playing piano with a blindfold on and a bomb under the keys. "So," I said, cutting my steak slowly, "Chase, how long have you worked with Ashley?" "Little over 6 months," he said casually. "Feels longer though, right, Ash?" She didn't answer. Just sipped her wine. "I've heard a lot about you," I said, smiling just enough to show teeth. "Ashley says you're very inspiring." "Oh." He grinned. "Well, I try. I believe in lifting up the people around me." I raised my eyebrows. "Sure. I can see how that might apply. Physically, even." He blinked. The fork paused midair. "But still," he laughed. "Ashley didn't. She just cleared her throat and changed the subject. Chase was promoted recently. He's leading the merge project." "Big job," I said. "Must take a lot of time, evenings, weekends." "You have no idea," Chase said. "It's practically a second marriage." Ashley's glass trembled just slightly as she set it down. I looked at her, not angry, not broken, just present. Calm. Like a surgeon with time and the sharpest scalpel in the room. She didn't meet my eyes. Good. The second course came and went. Roast potatoes, bitter greens, more wine than dinner required. And then came the gift. "Chase," I said, rising from the table. "Before dessert, I've got something for you. A little welcome to the family. You don't mind." He leaned back in his chair, fingers laced behind his head. "Man, you didn't have to do that." I smiled. "But I wanted to." I walked into the living room, opened a drawer under the bookshelf, and came back with a small black envelope. Laid it gently in front of him, like a poker hand. Ashley stared at it like it might explode. Chase opened it with a smirk. Inside were 3 photographs. One of him and Ashley entering the hotel. One of them at dinner, heads tilted too close together. And one of them kissing in the elevator mirror, her hand on his chest, his on her hip. The silence hit harder than the rain outside. Chase blinked, then looked up. "What is this?" "Scrapbook," I said. "Just wanted to commemorate the beginning of something beautiful." Ashley stood so suddenly her chair nearly tipped. "Logan." "Sit," I said. Calm. Clear. And she did. Not because she respected me, but because she didn't know what else I might have planned. Chase laughed nervously, tossing the photos onto the table. "You followed us?" "No," I said. "I followed her. You just kept showing up. Like a rash." He stood now, puffing up slightly, trying to grow into some version of masculinity he thought would intimidate me. "You think this means something?" he said. "Ashley's not property, man. You can't just—" "Spare me the TED Talk," I said, still seated. "You want to act like this is about some noble romantic journey? Go right ahead." But let's get one thing straight. I leaned forward, folding my hands. You didn't steal my wife. She gave herself away. I'm just here for the receipt. Ashley finally spoke. Quiet, defensive. What do you want from us, Logan? Revenge? Some dramatic exit? You think humiliating us makes you the bigger man? I looked at her like she was a stranger who had stolen my wife's face. No, Ashley. I don't want revenge. I stood now, walked slowly to the sideboard, opened the top drawer, pulled out a second folder, this one thicker, and handed it to her. Inside, a copy of the separation agreement I'd already had drawn up. With one beautiful twist, she walked away with nothing. No house. No alimony. No half. All thanks to the prenup she signed back when she said she'd never do anything to betray me. Irony. The one asset she forgot to insure. I want you out by Monday, I said, eyes on her now. You can stay at Chase's place. If he still has one. What? Chase said. Wait, hold on. This wasn't Ashley, you said. She turned on him. Don't you dare back out now. I didn't stay for the fight. I left them standing in my house, the smell of wine and lies thick in the air. And as I walked out into the rain, one thought kept me warm. I didn't lose a wife. I let go of a liability. Ashley didn't leave Monday. She packed a suitcase, slammed some drawers, stomped around the house like a Broadway actress mid-breakdown. But when night came, she was still in the guest room, still hoping the storm would pass. It didn't. It was just getting comfortable. I didn't say a word about it. I let her keep the illusion for a little longer, the idea that maybe, if she pouted hard enough, or if I softened, I'd backpedal. Maybe I'd become the bigger person. Forgive. Forget. But here's the thing. I was already the bigger person. That's how I saw everything. That Monday morning, I got up, got dressed, made my coffee, and not hers. She stood in the kitchen wearing a bathrobe and a carefully confused expression, as if playing the role of bewildered but lovable wife. No coffee for me? She asked. I sipped mine. Didn't know you'd still be here. That landed. She looked away, jaw twitching slightly. I'm just figuring things out. Chase can help you with that. She winced. We're not exactly talking. I didn't blink. Guess the hotel loyalty points weren't enough to build a future. She opened her mouth to say something, probably to blame me for making her cheat, or cry about how things were complicated. I left before she got the chance. Later that day, I got a text from her. One line. Can we talk tonight? I replied. Sure. I'll be in the backyard. Don't lie. The sun dipped by the time she joined me. I was on the deck, sipping another bourbon, legs crossed, watching the wind rattle the branches of the oak tree like they had secrets they wanted to scream. Ashley sat across from me, knees together, hands in her lap like a nervous schoolgirl. You're serious, she said. I nodded. Was that in doubt? Her lips parted, closed, reopened. You're really going to throw this all away? I laughed. Once. Sharp. Ashley, I didn't throw anything. You lit the match. I just stepped out of the fire. She sighed. I didn't mean for this to happen. You never do. I took another sip. But intentions don't carry much weight when you're naked in an elevator. She flinched. Good. I was lost, she said quietly. I didn't want it anymore. Scene. I nodded. So you fixed that by sneaking off and handing yourself to the first man who told you your new haircut was cute. That's not fair. No. What's not fair is you looking me in the eye every night and calling that betrayal a marriage. Silence settled between us like dust. Heavy. Visible. Then I asked, do you love him? Her eyes darted. I don't know. Good, I said, standing. Because you don't get him either. She blinked. What do you mean? You think Chase wants the woman who just got kicked out of her own home, exposed at work, and handed a separation agreement so cold it's probably still shivering in your purse? She looked pale now. I leaned closer. I sent those photos to HR this morning. And his wife. You didn't know he was married? TSK. Her jaw dropped open. He said they were separated. They're not. I checked. Turns out when you wreck homes, there's often more than one inside. She stood up now, voice rising. You can't just destroy his life. You don't know. I cut her off. He destroyed it when he stepped into mine. You're just collateral. Tuesday morning, she was gone. Suitcases packed. Bedroom empty. Toothbrush missing. Perfume still lingering like a ghost that hadn't realized it was dead. There was a note on the counter. I need time. Maybe one day we can talk. I never stopped loving you. I just lost my way. I read it once. Then I threw it in the trash. right between the coffee grounds and the eggshells. Fitting, really. That day, I went into the office like it was just another Tuesday. My coworkers gave me nods, smiles. A few asked about Ashley, probably still under the illusion that we were the golden couple with matching Christmas sweaters and brunch reservations. I let them believe it. For now. But in my office drawer sat a new key, one to a small downtown condo I'd signed the lease for that morning. Modern, quiet, unshared. No ghosts. And the best part? It had exactly one bedroom. That evening, I opened a folder I'd started calling the archive. Inside, emails, screenshots, expense reports. Even a sweet little thank you card from Chase's wife. Turns out she'd suspected something but didn't know who. My little package helped her lawyer finish the job. Ashley and Chase were both let go that week. Code of conduct violation. Technically, nothing personal. Just business. And poetic justice. I sat back in my chair, stared at the ceiling, and exhaled. I didn't feel triumph. I felt peace. Because I hadn't screamed. I hadn't begged. I hadn't burned the house down. I had simply opened the door and let the truth walk itself out. It only took 4 days. 4 days before Ashley texted again. Can we meet? Just to talk. That's what guilt does. It boomerangs. It's the one who threw it harder than the one who caught it. I agreed. We met at a small coffee shop near the university, neutral ground. She showed up in a beige coat, no makeup, hair tied back, like she thought modesty might erase memory. Hi, she said. Her voice was soft, careful, like she wasn't sure what version of me would show up. Hi, I replied and sipped my coffee. I've been staying at my sister's, she said. Not Chase's, in case you're wondering. I wasn't, I said. She looked down. I deserve that. I let the silence work. I messed up, Logan, she continued. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I need you to know it wasn't about love. It was about me. Feeling invisible. Wanting to matter. You mattered, I said. You just didn't like how I showed it. She winced. I miss our life. The house. The dinners. You. That life doesn't exist anymore, I said flatly. She reached across the table. I didn't move. We can fix it. I smiled then. Not cruel, not cold, just done. Ashley. I don't want it fixed. After that, she tried subtle things. Texting me updates about our friends. Dropping comments about memories. Sending me photos of our dog, who now slept in my condo and refused to respond to her voice. I wasn't mean. I wasn't unkind. But I didn't bite. The damage was done. She had taken a blowtorch to the foundation, and now she wanted to decorate the ashes. Meanwhile, I was writing a new version of myself. Small things. Waking up early. Reading more. Fixing the squeaky cabinet in the kitchen because no one was going to do it for me. And it felt good. Being alone didn't feel empty. It felt honest. She tried again 3 weeks later. Showed up at my building uninvited, buzzing the door like we still shared a key. I answered through the intercom. Ashley, please, she said. 5 minutes. I let her in. She stood in my doorway, holding a manila envelope. Divorce papers, she said. I signed. No lawyers. No fight. I nodded. Took it. Set it on the counter. Thank you, I said. Can I ask something? She said. Sure. Was it ever going to be me again? I didn't hesitate. No. She nodded. And that was it. The door clicked shut behind her. It took Chase longer to fall. But fall he did. Turned out HR was just the tip. His wife sued for emotional distress, and his name ended up on a blacklist across 3 firms. Last I heard, he was selling used luxury cars in a strip mall. Still wearing tailored suits, still smiling like he hadn't been chewed up and spit out by a life he tried to steal. Ashley ended up moving back in with her parents for a while. I saw her once at the grocery store. She was in sweats, staring at a can of black beans like it might reveal her future. She saw me, gave a small, tight smile. I gave one back. That was the last time. No fireworks. No apology round 2. Just 2 people standing in different aisles of the life they used to share, picking new ingredients. Here's what I didn't do. I didn't torch her clothes. I didn't post anything online. I didn't tell our friends every detail. Revenge isn't rage. It's precision. So when people asked why we split, I just said, we wanted different things. I wanted a marriage. She wanted options. They nodded. Some of them even smiled, like they understood. The cruelest part of my revenge? I lived better. And quietly. No messy rebound. No Instagram monologues. Just peace. Discipline. Clarity. You know what the worst punishment is for someone who betrayed you? Watching you become everything they lost. So I did. New place. New habits. A dog that chose my side. A bed that stayed cold until it wasn't, and only by invitation, not desperation. And Ashley? She'll always remember the man she left behind. But I'll only remember the day I stopped chasing ghosts and started chasing freedom. And brother, let me tell you, it tastes better than vengeance ever could.